2 days project. Well, after 103 years, the door latch broke on this. She be locked up, I can't get the door open. I'm going around to the other side here. That side works. I see 2 screws right here. Now, mind you, there are no books, service manuals on this car. Okay, they don't exist. I've got a book that shows the part numbers of what things should be. Look, it doesn't want to be worked on. It's backing out of the garage on its own. What the hell? Okay, that was spooky. We're on flat ground. So anyways, I'm going to come in from the other side with a screwdriver and try to push this latch in to get the door open. I'm going to take all this out, and then hopefully it's only these 2 screws that hold the latch in and I can pull it out, but I'm guessing not. I'm going to probably have to take the trim off, and I'm not looking forward to it because I'm not too sure how the trim is attached up and around. I'm hoping that this is a metal bracket that this leather is attached to. We'll see. I can see the door latch right there, so that shouldn't be a problem. Well, got the door handle off with no problem. These screws, and it's still in here pretty tight. I'm gonna guess that there's wooden ribbing or wooden frame in here that's notched out, and I'm going to guess that there's another wood stake that goes in through there. I can reach around the back side here, and I'm hitting something hard that goes all the way down. So I'm going to try getting this trim off of here. I haven't done trim work since the 80s, or at least seen it done, but I'm going to guess that there's staples that hold all this in, and they're in behind. Yep, right there. There they are. So I'm going to slowly get these staples out of here, hopefully enough to where I can pull this up and get a screwdriver in without taking the entire door panel off. Okay, what I've got going on is the trim is stapled on separately from the panel, and then if you can see, it's nailed in here. It looks like when this car was painted, the trim was put on afterwards, and this was taped off. I'm not sure if there was a refresh paint done on this car, and that's why it's like that, because there is paint underneath this. So I'm thinking at one time this car was, the paint was refreshed on it. So I've got to get in here and get all these little bit of nails out of here. This is going to be time consuming. I'm basically, with the staples, I'm prying up with this and using needle nose pliers. When I figure out the best route to get these out, I'll show you what's going on. Well, lucky for me, these are miniature tacks. So I'm coming in with my gasket scraper. I'm getting in underneath, tapping the handle a few times, and it'll get it right underneath, and then I can get the tack pulled out. Hopefully I can do this without taking the majority of this panel off. Like I said, I think the screws, my hand comes into here, are right here. The problem is, it's all cardboard back there. I'll get it figured out. Okay, I've got enough access to get in there to those 2 wood screws. What I've done here is I got myself a ratcheting wrench, put a piece of electrical tape on my bit so it'll hold it in there, and now I can get in here and ratchet those loose. Once I get a certain point, I can get in there with my fingers and pull them out. So far I didn't cause any damage. It's nothing more than some staples and tacks will fix when I go to put it back together. Oh, there we go. I got all the screws out. And I was right. That's just wood in there. Got some brass filings in here, so I'm going to have to take this apart and see what's going on here. Usually these are just, well, they're stamped together here. I can grind these tabs off, take it apart, fix what's inside, what's broken, and then I'll just tack weld it back on to get it back up and running. I did drop a screw down there, a brass screw, so I'll probably spend more time finding that than it's going to take me to fix this thing. Hopefully there's not two more tabs up here, because if there are, I have to get into bodywork and painting. Okay, I got it off. Pretty simple setup they got going on here. It looks like they have a cam in here that connects into the latch mechanism itself. This is brass, the cam is steel, and then it's spring loaded. So let's see if I can pop this out one-handed. Yep, there we go. Okay. Now, what's been happening, I think, is this has been popping out. Yep, right here it is. These have wore out over the years. And the cam has been popping up and then flipping in this way. Yeah, and you can see where it has hit, where it's shiny. It's not supposed to be there. Well, I take that back. It's shiny from it sliding back and forth, but definitely right here is what's failed. I think I can fix this by brazing some material on here. It is just brass. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and give that a try. Braze took quite well. I'm just going to let this cool down for a little bit on its own. I don't want to quench it because it'll possibly mess with the hardness. And then I'm going to come in with a carbide cutter and clean it up. I thought about re-welding or re-brazing this to help the door shut a little tighter, but it's 103 years old. It's not a brand new car, and that part ain't broke. Don't mess with it if it ain't broke. Well, the braze took extremely well. It's almost like they were same material. I'm just coming in here with a file, cleaning it up by hand as much as I can. I got to bring this back. That nodule's got to come off of there. I'll probably spend more time cleaning this up than I did welding it, but I wanted to make sure I had a good melt into the parent metal. So I got a feeling this will be my next 15 minutes or so. Well, after about 5 minutes of filing, I said screw this. Set it up with an end mill. This is much quicker. I put a piece of wood in between it so that when I clamped it, it didn't break the size of it off. So I'm just going to basically do this for the next 2 minutes, and then it should be good. Yeah, I've just discovered something else wrong with this. Part of the failure was this was lifting up and coming over the top of it. It did have to do with this wore out, but it also has to do with that being wore out. Now, I got two ways I can do this. I can make a brass plate that's going to lift everything up, but it'll change the door alignment, and the striker is not adjustable on the door. So what I think I'm going to do, I've got a thin washer I'm going to get, and I'm going to press it into here, and then that'll take up the slack, so this will no longer be allowed to lift up and ride up. So that's the route I'm going to go with. We'll see how it works. Well, the washer was too big, so I stuck it on here, give it a couple of runs, and that'll get it down to size. I probably took a little bit too much off, but that's all right. Let's see if it'll get in there now. Yep, it fits perfect in there. I'm going to put a little dab of grease in there that'll hold it in there. Another thing I got to do is come in here with a square file and clean those corners off. It doesn't look like I've got that much to clean off. Okay, got it all fit into place. The washer was a little too thick, so I had to file that down just a little. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put dab of grease here and here, and on the back side. That's the only place I'm going to put it. I need to weld here and here, so I don't need to contaminate it with grease. And plus, this is where all the friction is going to be right here anyways, in this area here, so I don't need grease anywhere else. So next step here is to grease it, put it together, and then I'm going to come in on the back side and tack weld it together. All tacked up, got a little coat of paint on it. It'd be working fine. Now let's get it back in. Well, I reused the tacks to get the panel back on, and for the trim, got it in place, and I'm doing nothing more than just using a staple gun every 3 inches or so. I'll iron it up, and that way I won't have any I guess slack in it. It shouldn't be that important because it is cut to size, but just safe than sorry. Okay, this is that part of the procedure. All done. Had some touch-up paint. You never know I took it out. So, in a way, it's a blessing. I had to do this because our Nash 681 doesn't have any door latches. Now I know what's involved in making them. There's nothing too complicated that I won't be able to make with the equipment that I have in the shop. Okay, on to the next project.